All right. Hey, everyone. Today is a wonderful day. We're talking to Amy Arundale, and tonight we are going to have a tweet chat on Twitter using the hashtag XChangeSA. And we're talking about networking and prepping for the biggest conference, which is CSM, Combined Sections Meeting. So thank you so much for joining us tonight, Amy, and just go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay, so my name's Amy, obviously. I'm a physical therapist, so I'm originally from Fairbanks, Alaska, but I went to undergrad outside of Philadelphia. I went to a little school called Haverford College. From there, I spent a year working in London. I was a soccer coach and a teacher for a year, and then I went to Duke for PT school. So I'd kind of gone through undergrad with the idea of, I wanted to be near sports. I thought I would be either an orthopedic surgeon or a physical therapist. And after spending some time with orthopedic surgeons, I realized that they spend a lot of time with unconscious patients, and I really liked conscious patients. So I chose to go to PT school. So I went to Duke for PT school, and I kind of had the one-track mind. I was going to come in, I was going to get through PT school, I was going to come out and work with soccer players. And along the way, someone kind of tapped me on the shoulder and said, I think you'd be good at being a leader, and I think you should think about running for student assembly. So I ended up running for student assembly board of directors, and I was the director, which is now the director of communication, in 2011. That was my third year. It was my third year coming actually into my first year of working, and it was awesome. It really opened up a lot of doors for me. Opened up kind of my eyes to the world of PT, and kind of really got my career going in a lot of ways. So I worked for a little over 2 years at a company called ProAxis, which is now part of ATI. I was in the greater Chapel Hill area. So I worked the mornings in a clinic, dealing with mostly endurance athletes, and then I spent my afternoons at a big youth soccer club in their training room, which was kind of my dream job for a first job out of school. So I am now working on a PhD. So I'm at the University of Delaware, studying under Dr. Snyder Mackler. So I study ACL injury prevention across the spectrum, from primary prevention, preventing those initial injuries, through rehab, like reconstruction, rehab, return to sport, and then all the way to secondary prevention, so preventing second injuries. So yeah, that's me.
That is awesome. Well, I am really excited to talk to you tonight because CSM is going to be my first CSM to attend. So I'm really excited to hear your advice, and I know that everybody else is, because Twitter has been blowing up. So let's just go ahead and get right to these questions. Jennifer Howe asks, how do you network on a daily basis?
So I think, so for me, we were actually just talking before we opened up the Google Hangout. I get a little overwhelmed with Twitter, actually. Sometimes it's hard for me I just feel like I'm always behind. I struggle to keep up. So Facebook and Instagram are kind of what I lean towards. I am really slow at reading, so it makes looking at pictures on Instagram a lot of fun. And I also really believe in the kind of the picture means 1,000 words kind of philosophy. So I really enjoy Instagram for that reason. And I think that also it can open up some doors to maybe connecting a lot, because it gives you a chance to see what people are doing. But that said, I think there's a lot of value to, picking up the phone and actually calling somebody, sending text messages, sending emails. A lot of times those are, especially sending text messages and phone and actually having phone calls, open up those doors for more meaningful conversations and really making lasting impressions and opening up relationships. So social media is awesome and there's a lot of opportunities there, but there's also something to be said for kind of traditional face-to-face conversations too. So Skype's awesome.
Face-to-face?
I know, right?
We'll all be doing it at CSM, that's for sure. Yep. What tips do you have for students who are unable to attend CSM, but they still want to network and make all of these connections?
Yeah, so that's where social media is helpful. Like Student Assembly does a great job of, posting all sorts of things that are going on, kind of updating people. The APTA does a good job of that too, whether that's on their social media, over their emails. You can get the CSM kind of like daily news. That's good for kind of keeping up what's going on at CSM. If you're not actually there though, there's still ways to kind of make some of those connections. It just might mean you have to do a little more digging. Maybe you go on the website and figure out, who are the leaders in the section that you're interested in, or who are some of the companies you might be interested in working for, and reaching out to them. So you might have to be a little more proactive, but you can definitely still make those connections.
That's really good. Thank you, Tia Dankberg, who asked that question. Let's see, we've got another question from Elizabeth Nixon, and I was actually wondering this question myself, as I'm sure a lot of you guys are. So, any tips for choosing a session/event when there are multiples that you want to attend at one time? How do you choose?
It's such a great question, and I wish I had. This is where if you could clone yourself and have like 6 of you at CSM, that would be incredibly helpful, because everything is on top of each other, and so you really kind of have to. So the first thing is make a schedule. So go through, look at what you are interested in, look at the schedules, look at the events. And not just the educational courses, look at those social events, look at the alumni events, look at the networking events, and kind of figure out what you want to do, when it is, and then also map out where it is. So, you may have one thing that's way over here and the next that's 3/4 of a mile away. And so knowing where things are and when things are is going to be huge.
And that's that's actually available in the CSM app, which is not out yet, but whenever it is, you can make your schedule within the app, which was really helpful for us at NSC. So yeah, you used that?
Yeah. The apps are really, really helpful. I actually do it in my Google Calendar, because then it sends me reminders, but I think the apps will send you reminders also. So whatever works for you. But yeah, then the apps will also have the locations, and I think last year they had maps too, which was also good. So those are the kind of the starting off. If you're looking at trying to manage like educational sessions, things to think about are pick the ones that you think are going to fill up first and go to those first. But remember that you don't have to stay put. So a lot of students think that, all right, I'm going to go to this session. It's kind of like sitting in class. I have to stay here for the next 2 hours. You don't have to stay. You can get up and, obviously be polite about it, but you can go to another session. So pick that one that you think is going to fill up, that looks interesting, go to it first. Look at who the speakers are. Sometimes a session title might not look good, but the people who are giving it, are going to be good. So picking those can be really, really helpful. And And then there again, knowing where things are will help you if you get due, decide to go to another one, you know where you're going, so you won't miss that much. So.
Wow, that's killer right there. That's awesome. Thank you. I'm gonna do that after our talk tonight for sure. So Sean Sebek asked a relatively long question, and I had to get him to explain it to me. But basically, he's asking, if you're going to the CSM by yourself, none of your classmates or friends are going, how can you maximize that opportunity? You're by yourself. Nobody wants to eat lunch alone. What do you do?
So, sometimes going by yourself is actually the best thing. It really is going to push you to be maybe more extroverted than you might be otherwise. You're going to have to kind of go out of your way to meet people, but sometimes that actually is more rewarding than going with a big group of friends. With a big group of friends, you've got a comfort zone. You're probably not going to go out and meet those random people. So I've actually probably, when I've been away from my classmates and my friends, have made some of the more valuable networking contacts that I have because I've been on myself. So that's the preface to that. It's a very long-winded preface, but
good. That's really
talk to your faculty. Your faculty can be really good. Go hang out with them, especially if there's somebody that you really like. Ask if you can hang out with them. They'll make you good introductions. In the past, I don't know if you guys still do it, the student assembly has done like a roommate board. So, finding a roommate from another school, that gives you a kind of an automatic in with somebody that you didn't know before.
That's a really good point that you bring up, and there is one that has gotten started, and we'll be sharing that on the APTA Student Assembly Twitter and Facebook soon.
Yeah, so that's perfect. And then just go to the exhibit hall. Go meet people at booths, and it takes a little bit of that kind of stepping out of your comfort zone to kind of be like, hey, my name's Amy. The more you do it, though, the more you get more comfortable with it, and the more you kind of realize that it's not weird to walk up to somebody, especially at CSM. People are really quite used to it. So
that's what you taught us at NSC, right? With our challenge to go take the selfie.
Yep. Yeah, and that's the thing, if you see somebody, at CSM, one of the big things, actually at all of our APTA conferences, people have ribbons. If you see someone with a ribbon, walk up to them and ask them about their ribbon. Whether that's a student assembly board member, whether that's a board of directors member, whether that's Sharon Dunn, go up to them and ask them about their ribbon. Even if it's people will have a section ribbon or a specialty ribbon. Those are even better. Ask them about that process, and those are great conversation starters.
That's really good advice. I hadn't thought about that one. Lauren B asks, if I have a specific section that I want to work in, what else can I do besides visiting their booths and talks at CSM? Is there anything else?
There is. So sections always need volunteers. Always need volunteers. And as a student, if you offer to volunteer, you will be forever loved, especially in the smaller sections. So if anyone's if anyone's interested in acute care, email the acute care section and you will automatically have probably 6 different jobs at CSM, 20 new networking contacts. You'll probably meet the president of the section, and you may have job offers by the end of the conference. That's not with every section. Some of the bigger sections, ortho and sports, it's a little harder to make that in, but they always need volunteers. So volunteering is huge. The other thing is some sections have open business meetings. So I'll use acute care again. Acute care has open business meeting, and those are great places both to meet the leadership of the section, to meet people who are part of the section, but also to start getting involved. And if they don't have open business meetings, contacting the section leadership or getting involved in like special interest groups are really, really good ideas.
And those business meetings, they're on the CSM programming list, correct?
Yeah. So when you search by sections, most of the time those business meetings will pop up. Like I said, not all of them. For example, sports, their business meeting, their leadership business meeting is closed. They have a wider like business meeting for all members, which you should definitely go to. But yeah, some of them are closed business meetings, some of them are open.
Okay. Brian Duke asked, do you think students get more out of the educational aspect of CSM or the networking aspect? That's a great question.
So seeing as I talk a lot about networking, I'm going to say networking. And there's a couple reasons. So as students, you're getting presented in class with the most up-to-date information. That's what's also getting presented in the educational sessions at CSM. So you're going to go to some CSM sessions and you're going to be like, all right, I learned this in class. Like, whoop-de-doo. That information that is like up to the minute is super helpful for a clinician who's been out for 20 years, maybe isn't as up on the literature. For a student, that might be a little bit repetitive. That's not the case for all of them, but for a lot of them that can be. So that's one reason why the networking may be more valuable. But also, really at their heart, if you're really going to get the most out of any conference, it's not going to be in the educational sections. You're going to get little tidbits. You're going to get little things that you take home that might change some of the things you do, but it's going to be the people that you meet and those relationships that you start to build that are really going to influence your career and change kind of what you do, how you do it, that kind of thing.
That's good. This is really good. Okay, Brittany Davis asks, I hope to find out how to improve my social media presence and general steps to take in preparation for CSM to avoid missed opportunities. I know we already talked about the social media aspect of it, but what are our general steps? Are there any extras other than what you've already mentioned in preparation?
Just kind of going back, like looking at the schedule, knowing what's there, knowing where things are, and what you're like most interested in. That's probably the biggest thing that you can do to really help yourself out. Following on social media, following the student assembly, following the APTA as a whole, and following the sections. Those will help guide you and may help kind of ping some things up that, either the section's trying to highlight, somebody else is trying to make sure that you see. That can be really, really helpful. But then also, talk to your faculty, talk to people around you. What do they recommend going to? Are there particular sessions or events that they really think would be helpful for you?
So after you make these connections at CSM, Christina White is asking, how do you maintain these relationships?
So that sounds like something that's like this like huge task. Like, I met these 20 people at CSM and what the heck am I going to do? First is remember that you're not going to talk to these people every day. You're not going to talk to them every week. You may not even talk to them every month. But, picking, if I talked about it at Student Conclave. I have a friend who has a Rolodex, and every month just like spins the Rolodex and picks somebody and emails them. And I don't have that. It's more for me a little bit more fluid, and like something will spark my a memory, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I need to go email them. Christmas is great. I just sent out, I don't know how many holiday cards And they're just generic. They're just little things, just saying, hey, happy holidays. I wish you all the best. They don't have to be related to PT. Those are your opportunities. But just finding a little time here and there, or, when you think about it, even if it's that, like, oh, I'm about to fall asleep, like, like, send that email, or, send a text message, make that phone call. Because those little times are what make it easy to kind of keep going and keep those relationships up. And also remember, you're not going to keep relationships with everybody, and that's okay. The people who are most important for where you are right now, those are the people you'll probably stay in touch with. There will be some people that you won't stay in touch with, and that's okay.
So you're a physical therapist practicing. You have your own business cards, right? What do you suggest for us students? We don't work. We don't have our own businesses. Well, some of us may not. Some do. Anyway,
you should still have business cards, though. I had business cards. In fact, I could probably go find it for you. Like, I made my own, like, literally, like, printed them off, like, actually, I think Duke may have actually also given us a deal on one that actually had Duke's emblem. But even as a student, you should still have a business card, because they're so easy, and they're so, like, they make things so much easier. If you're in an exhibit hall, it's so easy to just be like, here's my business card, or, let's get your information. You don't have a business card? Hey, look, I can write it on the back of mine. Now I've got that piece. Now I've got that information. So it doesn't matter if you don't actually have a business, if you're not actually working. It's awesome, and it stands out to people if you're a student and you've got a business card. So business cards are definite.
Okay, that's good. What other essentials in addition to those business cards should students bring to CSM?
Whether you bring it or you get it, caffeine is helpful. Just know that you're gonna be running from, you're probably gonna start at 6:30 or 7, maybe 8 at the latest. And you're going to be going to things that go at, like, that finish at like 11 at the earliest. So know that you're going to just run yourself ragged. And you're probably going to need Sunday and maybe Monday to recover, maybe a little longer. So, caffeine's helpful. Like, bring your phone. It's helpful to have, but it's also going to keep you on social media. It's going to keep you connected, know where to go. I always end up with a backpack. I'm a little bit of a turtle, but sometimes you're gonna want your, like, the program book probably with you. You may get goodies that you might want to keep with you. I normally have heels and a pair of flats if you're a girl, because you're walking a lot. So, like, you may want a bag of some sort. But I'd say business cards and a phone at a bare minimum, and then comfortable shoes.
And actually, I brought to NSC an external charger for my phone, which was
That's a very good idea.
Helpful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, it doesn't hurt to bring a selfie stick, right?
I haven't seen it at any U.S. conferences yet, but at a lot of the international conferences I've been to, people use selfie sticks in educational sessions, so they'll just, like, stick them up and take pictures of the slides. Like, normally it's because people, like, a lot of times, somebody will be presenting in English and someone's English isn't great, so they'll take picture or video. And not all presenters will allow that. So that's an important thing, but that's something that I'm waiting to catch on here in the States.
Well, we can bring it. We can bring it.
Just make sure, if you're gonna do it, make sure it's okay with the presenters first, too, though.
Good point.
I don't
So,
want to like encourage any copyright violations.
none of that. Just in case you run by President Dunn, you know.
But do take a selfie with Sharon Dunn.
Yes, that's a must. What are some good ways to inform my friends how much I learned about CSM, whether that's with learning the educational side of it or just learning about the value of networking? How can I inspire my classmates to attend future conferences?
So take lots of pictures. Here's a great place for social media. A lot of times it was just word of mouth. So I didn't go to any conferences until CSM my second year. And it was my classmates coming back, and my faculty coming back kind of with stories, and they were so excited, that I was kind of like, I feel like I need to go check this out. So word of mouth is huge. Tell them the stories, tell them all about all the people you meet, about how much fun you have. There might be a few like stories that get details left out of them because what happens at CSM stays at CSM, but and I say that with also the caveat that you also have to hold yourself with a good degree of professionalism. And there are a lot of really fun events at CSM. You also have to kind of keep that in the back of your mind. You are there with 20,000 other PTs and exhibitors, and their eyes are on you. At the same time, it is a lot of fun. Everyone's really there. It's a great atmosphere. And the more excitement that you come back to your classmates with, the more infectious it is. And that's kind of what carries it on too. That's kind of what got me going, is the more you go, hey, I think you'd really enjoy this, or hey, I think you'd be really good at this. That's how people get engaged. That's kind of that's kind of what kind of formulates people's kind of my moment.
That's good. Sean Sebeck also asked, if you could only attend one of the 3 major APTA conferences as a either DPT student or PTA student, what's the best year to attend?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Early or late?
I would say if you're a DPT student in a 3-year program, I would say second year and go to CSM. Because you're kind of in the middle. You can start to make a lot of those connections that will then kind of carry you forward. I'd say second or third year. If you're in a first year, I think student conclave, first and second year student conclave is huge, and is really, really important. Next is still really kind of figuring itself out. And I think in the next few years, next is going to be really, really cool for students, and for anyone who's interested in leadership. So it happens right with House of Delegates, which is fascinating. It's really, really cool. So if you're at all interested in getting involved, next is going to be a good conference for you. But if you could only go to one conference 1 year, I'd have to say CSM, and I think second year might be your best bet.
There we go.
If you're a PTA student, then go first year.
It's that good. That's a really good question and a difficult one, because you just want to go to all 3 every single year.
Yeah, but that's it. Just save all your money and do like we do. I'm technically a early career, and we still gang up 6 people in a hotel room. So
that's a good point.
Pack lunches also, or breakfast. Pack breakfast.
That's good. What's one of your favorite memories from attending a national conference?
Ooh. Well, getting the opportunity to present at Student Conclave this year was pretty cool. And meeting a lot of students was awesome. And I think one of my memories that kind of made made the change for me in terms of getting involved, and kind of the realization of how important networking was my first CSM. And I told this story a little bit at Student Conclave. I went to CSM, and it was, I think, the third day, so my brain was kind of done. I didn't really feel like I could go to any more educational sessions, so I wandered into the exhibit hall and went to the sports section booth, and there were three guys there. A guy named Joe Black, a guy named Skip Hunter, and a guy named Danny Smith. And I ended up spending the next hour and a half there. Didn't talk about PT at all, really just shot the shit with these three guys. And I walked away from it and was like, wow, these guys are actually really important people. Like, why the heck did they just spend all this time, talking to me? And it really kind of brought home to me, like, that's how our profession works. Like, it's all about the people. And Joe Black, all three of them, but Joe Black especially to this day stands as one of my biggest mentors. And so I'd have to say that's probably one of the more impactful memories that I have from a conference. So
that's huge. That's really big to be a student. You think, oh, just little old me, I don't know anything or anyone, and then someone's spending that much time just pouring into you. That's really cool.
Yeah, and it pretty much, almost, like, I would say 90% of the people who go to CSM are open to that. Like, there's the majority of people, they may be really busy, but if you find a spare moment, they're really willing to open up to you. And that's I sometimes struggle with, like, mentorship programs, because I think mentorship really has to come more organically. But it's those types of conversations that's where you find mentors, and that's where mentorship kind of really grows from.
What are the best ways to ask for time off from school or your clinicals to attend a national conference?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Well, I would love it if all clinicals in all schools just gave that time off. I actually honestly think it should be. I think it should be due diligence. I think all students should be able to go to a national conference, and especially be able to go to CSM. That said, that's not the case right now. So, I think really approaching people, whether that's your faculty member or your clinical instructor, go in with facts. These are the reasons why I want to go. These are the things that I think I will get out of going. So that you're really presenting kind of a prepared case. This is what this is going to do for me, and this is why I would like to go. Having a group of people can also be helpful. So Duke for a little while had the policy that I think it was if over 25% of our class was going to go to a conference, that they would accommodate. And so there is power in numbers in that way. But it really being prepared and not making sure that it's, I think some faculty kind of sometimes will be like, oh, well, you just want to go and, meet people and maybe, do a little partying. Like, make it clear that that's not your goal. So.
That's good. Well, I really appreciate you coming tonight and talking to all of us. Before we go, is there anything else that we haven't covered that you'd like to tell our audience?
I think that's all I got right now. Feel free, at all, to tweet me I'm gonna get better at tweeting, or Instagram or Facebook me. My email is also my first initial and last name, so it's AARUNDALE@gmail.com. So if there's other questions that you have, or as you get a little closer, don't hesitate to get in contact.
Because you know a lot of people, so just that one little you can connect us to a lot of people.
I can, and that's one thing is it's kind of fun for me to be able to say, oh, you're interested in that, hey, you should talk to this person, but I'm not the only one. There's a lot of people, especially your faculty members, student assembly board of directors. You guys know a lot of people too, whether you know it or not. So yeah. Find those people who are connectors.
That's good. I want to tell everybody that you're doing 2 courses at CSM, one on Thursday and one on Friday. They look really, really interesting. You want to say a few words about them?
Sure. So one is called, I have to look at the title.
I'll read to you. Thoughtful Leadership, the Quiet Leader and Leading the Quiet.
So this session is run by the APTA Leadership Development Committee, which I'm a member of. So the idea, we want to talk about introverts and extroverts, but not as kind of, we think of introverts and extroverts as very dichotomous. So we want to think about how do we facilitate leadership from people who get their energy from being around people, and people who get their energy from maybe not being around people quite as much. How do you lead if you're an extrovert? How do you lead if you're an introvert? If you're an extrovert, how do you facilitate, a good environment for introverts and vice versa? So it should be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. And then your other one on Friday, Igniting More Leadership in Women, Breaking Through the Goldilocks Effect. I'm already interested from the title.
So this one actually is it came out of a session that we did last year on igniting leadership in women. And we talked a little bit about kind of the idea of the Goldilocks effect is this idea that are you quite right? There's also kind of this idea of an imposter effect, or imposter syndrome, which I definitely suffer from. The idea that am I good enough? Am I really qualified? Am I just an imposter in what I'm doing? And so it's not a session that is only for women. It's for both men and women. But talking about, how do you find that right balance for you? How do you kind of break through that idea that is this too good? Is this not good enough? Where's just right? And kind of breaking out of that imposter effect too.
So that's for men and women. That's good.
It
does kind of seem like it's for the women. So
yeah, it will be probably, it is kind of focused on women, but it's not a yay feminist, it is for both men and women.
That's good. A few more announcements for CSM. We have a student meet and greet, and that is out on Friday, February 19th at 7:30, and that's hosted by the Student Assembly Board of Directors, and it's co-sponsored by the APTA Catherine Wormingham Fellows. And so make sure you put that on your calendar. And a little bit before that, we're having a forum, and so you don't want to miss that as well. That's going to be a couple of hours full of fun and networking with all of the student colleagues. Be on the lookout for our CSM student planner. We're working on gathering a lot of courses that are great for students, and we're going to put it out there to kind of help everyone with going through and figuring out which courses you want to go to. And then lastly, go ahead and mark on your calendars for the February Exchange Essay Chat. We're talking to Natalie Wilson, who is a fresh PT, on February the 3rd at 9 p.m. Eastern. And we're talking about fresh PTs. what you wish you knew before you graduated. So we're really looking forward to that one. Natalie is just a really excited fresh PT who's really involved, and I'm so excited for everybody to meet her if you haven't already on Twitter. So it's going to be fun. We've got a lot coming up in the next few months, so I'm excited. So thank you, everybody, for being here and watching and joining the conversation on Twitter. Keep the conversation going. Amy, you're going to be on there, right?
I will be, yep.
Perfect. So you can tweet me, you can tweet Amy. Let's keep this conversation going. So without further ado, we will say our goodbyes. Thank you all for being here.
Thanks, everybody.